Meet the Sacklers, the wealthiest pharmaceutical family who made billions of dollars by addicting millions of people with their drug, OxyContin. Through fake research and an inhumane approach to selling their product, they've created an entire generation of addicted Americans. Let's explore how they amassed their fortune and got America hooked on this legal drug. For the past few years, news headlines have been increasingly focused on the opioid epidemic in the United States. In 2022 alone, over 100,000 Americans died from overdoses, which equates to 300 deaths per day, or 12 deaths per hour. These metrics are record-breaking. Between 1999 and 2020, 841,000 people died from overdoses, with 500,000 of those deaths attributed to opioids. Unfortunately, this number continues to rise. Opioids are powerful painkillers that are prescribed for moderate to severe pain. In 2018, there were 51 opioid prescriptions written per 100 people in the U.S., totaling over 168 million prescriptions. The question arises, why have opioids become increasingly popular each year without proper regulation? The answer lies with the Sackler family, specifically Mortimer, Raymond, and Arthur, who founded the Purdue Pharma empire and are responsible for the deaths of thousands of U.S. citizens. They quickly discovered an aptitude for medicine and strong entrepreneurial acumen. All of them graduated with honors from medical school. Arthur began his career as a copywriter in an agency that specialized in advertising medical products. He demonstrated a perfect flair for marketing. He soon became the owner of this agency and revolutionized the drug promotion industry. Selling a doctor something to prescribe to a client was a challenge. Arthur Sackler realized that advertising should not target only patients, but also doctors. He began placing ads in specialized medical journals and publications. He convinced the most influential doctors to leave positive feedback on his product, knowing that doctors are influenced by their colleagues. Additionally, Sackler started publishing the Medical Tribune newspaper, which had a readership of approximately 600,000 physicians, alongside his advertising business. Arthur did not avoid any sales techniques. In the 1950s, he created an advertisement for a new Pfizer antibiotic called sigmamocin. The ad featured images of doctors' business cards and the caption, "More and more doctors are choosing sigmamocin as a therapy." It is also known that he paid $300,000 to Henry Welch, the head of a division of the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, so that he could casually mention the names of certain medications in his speeches. In 1952, Arthur and his brothers purchased Purdue Frederick, a company that researched, developed, and licensed drugs and medical products. Purdue Frederick's first proprietary drug that caught the attention of U.S. authorities was a medication for high cholesterol, which had numerous side effects, including hair loss. During the early 1960s, Senator Estes Kefauver of Tennessee, who chaired a subcommittee responsible for overseeing the pharmaceutical industry, took an interest in the activities of the Sackler family. In his remarks, he noted that the Sackler family's operations were full cycle. They could develop a new drug in their facility, conduct clinical trials, and get positive feedback from the hospitals they worked with. They create an advertising campaign and promote their product by publishing articles in medical newspapers and journals that they own or have connections with. In January 1962, Arthur Sackler was called to testify in Washington, but no senator was able to prove that he had lied. The businessman was prepared for any questions and answered them sharply and confidently. When asked about the drug's side effects, he casually stated, "I would prefer to have liquid hair than clogged arteries." In 1987, Purdue Frederick, owned by the Sackler family, was financially successful despite ongoing litigation. After Arthur Sackler's death in May 1987, his brothers Mortimer and Raymond purchased his stake in Purdue Frederick for $22.4 million. The company was then renamed Purdue Pharma and relocated to Connecticut. Purdue Pharma released a new semi-legal painkiller called OxyContin, which was highly successful in treating cancer patients. At the same time, medical professionals were debating the use of opioids for non-cancerous conditions that could be just as debilitating. OxyContin was not the top painkiller due to prejudice against morphine. Some people hear morphine and think it's only for the dying. The Sacklers decided to create a new painkiller called OxyContin, a morphine-like substance developed by German scientists in 1916 from opium poppy. This substance was believed to be weaker than morphine, and it was inexpensive to produce. It was already being used in other preparations in combination with aspirin or paracetamol, which doctors prescribed for severe injuries. Therefore, Purdue Pharma produced pure OxyContin. The company manufactured pills in 10, 80, and 160 milligram dosages. These pills had a stronger effect than any prescription opioid. The name of the pill was OxyContin. Journalists and Pulitzer nominee Barry Meyer described OxyContin as a nuclear weapon in terms of its narcotic power. Despite this, the U.S. Department of Health approved the use of OxyContin for moderate to severe pain. Dr. Curtis Wright was responsible for the FDA review that allowed OxyContin on the market. He left the organization soon after. 2 years later, he joined Sacklers. At a company meeting celebrating the launch of the new drug, Richard Sackler, Raymond Sackler's son, said, "The launch of OxyContin will be followed by a blizzard of prescriptions that will bury the competition. It will be strong, dense, and white." Mortimer Raymond and Richard Sackler adopted Arthur's marketing techniques and launched a massive advertising campaign in pharmaceutical history. The campaign was one of the largest and most horrific in the industry. They hired thousands of sales representatives, conducted training sessions, and armed them with charts describing the drug's benefits. The company aimed to change doctors' perceptions regarding the prescription of OxyContin. They wanted to convince doctors that it was effective for a wider range of conditions, such as arthritis, back pain, injuries, and more. The goal was to move away from the perception that it should only be prescribed for severe short-term pain in oncology and surgery. Stephen May, one of the company's managers, informed The New Yorker that they provided special training on overcoming doctors' objections. Purdue Pharma employees were taught how to answer questions about possible drug abuse and how to persuade specialists that the drug is not addictive. However, their claims were not believed. The company paid thousands of practicing physicians to attend seminars, all expenses paid, and report on the benefits of OxyContin. Purdue approached the promotion from various angles. Wholesalers received discounts, first-time pharmacists were reimbursed, and patients received coupons for 30-day starter packs. Academics received grants, medical journals received multi-million-dollar advertising, and members of Congress received generous subsidies. Additionally, there was a massive advertising in professional publications and literature, as well as ads featuring happy and satisfied patients on TV. Purdue even offered specialized merchandise such as fishing hats, plush toys, and luggage tags. What was the result of such a campaign? Drug addiction on a mass scale. OxyContin was soon discovered to be used as a drug, with some patients who had been prescribed it selling the pills on the black market for $1 per milligram. Between 1996 and 2001, the number of OxyContin prescriptions in the U.S. increased from 300,000 to nearly 6 million. Purdue Pharma began generating $1 billion annually from the drug during this time. In 2016, Forbes estimated the Sackler family's fortune at $13 billion, although Purdue Pharma did not disclose its data. The Sacklers surpassed the Rockefellers in the ranking of the richest American families. In 2016, opioid overdoses caused the deaths of over 53,000 Americans, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The Commission on Combating the Opioid Crisis, established by Donald Trump, reported an even more alarming figure of 64,000 deaths. This number exceeds the combined death toll from car accidents and gunshot wounds. According to the Commission's report, 142 people die every day from opioid overdoses, the equivalent of the 9/11 attacks every 3 weeks, and the situation has been labeled a public health emergency. According to STAT, a medical publication, urgent action is needed to prevent an established 500 deaths from opioid overdoses in the U.S. over the next 10 years. The statistics suggest that the problem is worsening. The Sackler family is now accused of contributing to an outbreak of opioid addiction. They're accused of running a misleading marketing campaign that encouraged doctors to frequently prescribe the opioid drug OxyContin, downplaying its dangers. To settle the lawsuits, the Sackler family agreed to pay more than $6 billion to the plaintiffs in exchange for relief from prosecution.